Hello again. This is Larry Hayden. Welcome to the Larry Hayden Podcast. This is episode 32. The topic is, what is a thought crime? Please listen until the end when I'll give you resources to learn more. When I think of the term thought crime, I think of the verse in Matthew 5:27 where Jesus proclaimed that the command, quote, "do not commit adultery," applied to anyone who looked at a woman with lust in his heart. This makes it clear that there is such a thing as a thought crime, and that someone can indeed sin with their mind. A thought crime is a concept taken from the novel 1984 by George Orwell. In this novel, the government ruling over the country has a division known as the, quote, thought police, which actively persecutes individuals who have any thoughts contradicting the views of the ruling regime. Thankfully, a thought crime, as portrayed in 1984, remains a fictional concept, although some see the prosecution of hate crimes or bias crimes in modern jurisprudence as setting the course for the thought police. But is a thought crime a biblical concept? Would it be right to punish evil or impure thoughts? Well, let's first define sin. Sin is any instance of disobedience to God's commands, whether in thought, word, or action. The Bible is clear that even thoughts can be sinful. For example, the last of the 10 Commandments prohibits coveting, which is a sin committed in the mind and heart. In addition, Jesus taught that God does not care just about our actions, but also the intent behind our actions. In his Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5:27, Jesus criticizes the scribes and Pharisees, the religious leaders in his day, for engaging in heartless religion and empty devotion. Quote, "You hypocrites, what did Isaiah prophesy of you when he said, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men.'" Matthew 15:7-9. Paul says in his letter to the Corinthians, "If I give away all that I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing." 1 Corinthians 13:3. So God cares about our thoughts and the motives behind our actions. Is every single thought that does not line up with God's will a sin or a, quote, thought crime in the eyes of the Lord? What about intrusive thoughts, defined as involuntary, unwanted images, phrases, or impulses? A study by the Mayo Clinic found that 94% of people report having intrusive thoughts, which can include thoughts ranging from forgetting to close the garage door to causing bodily harm to someone. Since these are thoughts that we do not actively choose to enter our minds, they are not sins in and of themselves. However, choosing to dwell on or take pleasure in a sinful thought is a sin. Furthermore, there is biblical evidence that the devil can put wicked thoughts into people's minds. In John's Gospel, the record shows Satan putting into Judas's heart, that is his mind, the idea to carry out the betrayal of Christ. John 13:2. Judas Iscariot was certainly guilty of a, quote, thought crime in God's eyes. Paul tells the Corinthians to, quote, take every thought captive to obey Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. With every thought that comes into our minds, whether that thought is good or evil, we have the opportunity to bring the thought to God in prayer. Philippians 4:6-7. Ask him for protection from any attack of the evil one, 1 John 5:18, and think about things in heaven that please God and are beneficial to the saints, Colossians 3:1-2. So, thoughts can be sinful, but, quote, thought crimes are beyond the scope of mere mortals. Men cannot read others' minds or view their thoughts. But God knows all of our thoughts, and he is the perfect ruler and judge of the universe. John 2:24-25. Any sinful thought that we dwell on and ponder in our heart is a, quote, crime against the perfect will of God, for he is holy and perfect, and he will not overlook any sin. Exodus 34:7. Believers in Jesus do not have to fear, because every thought they have ever had is forgiven by Jesus' blood shed on the cross. Romans 3:23-26. Through the death and resurrection of Jesus, God has freed his people to experience a peace beyond comprehension. Philippians 4:7. And he has freed us from the fear of judgment. 1 John 4:18. Through the grace of God, we can have thoughts of God's love and mercy for us, leading us to rejoice. Now, here are the resources I mentioned to learn more about God and the Bible. I recommend 3 reliable online websites. First, go to gotquestions.org. You'll find reliable answers to over 700,000 of life's questions, and the site reflects the worldwide conventional, conservative, Protestant viewpoint. Next, go to alwaysbeready.com by the outstanding Bible scholar Charlie Campbell. And finally, visit my website, LarryHaydenPodcast.com. This concludes the podcast. Thank you for listening, and I wish you peace always.